My sister-in-law's obsession with me nearly destroyed our family. Need advice. Hey Reddit, I'm using a throwaway because this situation is incredibly sensitive and I need to get this off my chest. What happened to my family over the past month has been absolutely devastating, and I'm still trying to process it all. I'm Marcus, 32M, married to Emily, 29F, 4-5 years with 2 beautiful kids, Janet, 4F, and Lucas, 2M. My older brother Harris, 35M, has been married to Jesse, 31F, for 7 years, and they have 3 kids together, Ryan, 6M, Emma, 5F, and baby Noah, 18 months. We've always been an incredibly close family, getting together every weekend, sharing holidays, and supporting each other through everything. Jesse and I have always gotten along well. She's Elena's best friend from college, which is actually how Harris met her. She's always been the life of the party, incredibly outgoing, and someone who could make anyone laugh. I considered her a true sister, someone I could count on and trust completely. That's what makes this whole situation so much more painful. 3 weeks ago, I was working late at my law firm when I got a text from Jessie around 9 p.m. It wasn't unusual. She often texted family members about random things, coordinating plans, sharing funny memes, or asking for advice. But this text was different. Hey Marcus, can we talk tomorrow? There's something important I need to discuss with you. It's about Harris, and I could really use your perspective as his brother. I figured they were having marriage problems. Harris had been working crazy hours at his construction company lately, trying to land some big contracts. I thought maybe Jessa needed advice on how to approach him about spending more time with the family. I texted back, "Of course, Jess. Everything okay? We can grab coffee after work if you want. That would be perfect. Meet me at that new place downtown around 6? And Marcus, please don't mention this to Emily or Harris yet. I need to figure out how to handle this first." That should have been my first red flag, but I trusted her completely. I thought she was just being cautious about family drama. The next evening, I arrived at the coffee shop a few minutes early. Jessie was already there, sitting in a corner booth, looking nervous in a way I'd never seen before. She was fidgeting with her wedding ring, her usual confident demeanor nowhere to be found. "Thanks for coming," she said as I sat down. I wasn't sure how to approach this. "What's going on with you and Harris?" I asked, getting straight to the point. "Are you guys having problems?" She looked down at her hands, then back up at me with tears in her eyes. "Marcus, this isn't about Harris." "Well, it is, but not in the way you think." I felt confused. "What do you mean?" She took a deep breath and then said the words that changed everything. "I'm in love with you, Marcus. I have been for years." I literally felt my brain short-circuit. "What? Jessica, what are you talking about?" "I've been trying to fight these feelings, but I can't anymore. Every family gathering, every time we hang out, every time you laugh at my jokes or give me a hug, I feel this connection between us that I know you feel too." I was stunned into silence. She continued talking, her words pouring out like she'd been rehearsing this speech for months. "I know this is complicated because of Harris and Elena, but Marcus, what we have is real. The way you look at me, the way you always seek me out in a crowded room, the way you text me back immediately even when you're busy with work, you feel it too, don't you?" "Jessica, stop," I managed to say. "I don't know what you think you've been seeing, but you're completely wrong. You're my sister-in-law. You're married to my brother. You're Elena's best friend. This is insane." But she kept going. "I've been thinking about this for months. We could make this work. Harris doesn't have to know, at least not yet. We could figure out how to handle the family situation later. I just need to know that you feel the same way." I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I don't feel the same way, Jessica. Not at all. You're family, and that's it. You need to forget about this conversation and focus on your marriage." Her face crumpled. "But Marcus, the way we connect, the chemistry between us." "There is no chemistry," I said firmly. "Whatever you think you've been seeing, you're wrong. I love Elena. I love my family. And I thought you did too." I walked out of that coffee shop feeling like my world had been turned upside down. I drove home in a complete daze. How could I have missed this? Had I somehow given Jessie the wrong impression? I replayed every interaction we'd had over the years, trying to find where things went wrong. When I got home, Amila was in the kitchen cleaning up after dinner. She took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. What happened? You look like you've seen a ghost. I sat down heavily at the kitchen table. I knew I had to tell Amila everything, but I also knew it would blow up our entire family. Elena, sit down. We need to talk about something serious. I told her everything Jesse had said, word for word. Elena's face went through a range of emotions: confusion, disbelief, anger, and finally, determination. She said what? Elena's voice was deadly calm, which I knew meant she was furious. I swear to you, Elena, I never gave her any reason to think I was interested. I've always treated her like a sister, nothing more. I believe you, Amila said immediately. But Marcus, we have to tell Harris. This is going to destroy him, but he has a right to know. That night, neither of us slept. We lay in bed talking about what this meant for our family, for Harris's marriage, for Jessica's kids. The ripple effects were going to be enormous. Before we could figure out how to approach Harris, my phone started buzzing at 7 a.m. with text messages from Jessica. Marcus, I'm so sorry about last night. I was emotional and confused. Please don't tell anyone what I said. Then another, I didn't mean it the way it sounded. I think I'm just going through a rough patch with Harris and I got my feelings mixed up. And another, please, Marcus. I was wrong. Can we just forget this happened? Think about the kids. But it was too late. Amelia and I had already decided that Harris needed to know. We couldn't pretend this conversation never happened, especially when Jessie was clearly not going to drop her feelings overnight. I texted back, Jessica, we need to talk to Harris together. This can't stay a secret. Her response was immediate. No. Please, Marcus. You'll ruin everything. Harris doesn't need to know about a stupid mistake I made. But it wasn't just a mistake. The things she'd said, the way she talked about our connection and her long-term feelings, this wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. Amelia and I decided to drive over to Harris and Jessica's house that Saturday morning. We brought our kids to play with their cousins, hoping to keep things as normal as possible for them. Harris was in the garage working on his truck when we arrived. I asked if we could talk privately while Amelia went inside with Jessie and all the kids. What's up, little brother? Harris said, wiping grease off his hands. You look serious. Harris, something happened that you need to know about. It's going to be hard to hear. I told him about the coffee shop conversation, watching his face change from confusion to disbelief to rage. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Are you telling me my wife is in love with you? He asked, his voice dangerously low. That's what she said. Harris, I swear to you, I never encouraged this. I had no idea she felt this way. Harris leaned against his workbench, looking like someone had punched him in the gut. How long? She said years. Years. His voice cracked. She's been lying to my face for years? Before I could respond, we heard shouting from inside the house. Amelia and Jessie were having it out, and it sounded bad. We rushed inside to find Amelia and Jessie in the living room, the kids thankfully playing in the backyard. Jessie was crying, but Elena's face was stone cold. Tell him, Amelia was saying. Tell Harris what you told my husband. Jessie looked between Harris and me, panic in her eyes. Harris, it's not what you think. Marcus misunderstood what I was trying to say. So you didn't tell my brother you were in love with him? Harris asked. Jessica's shoulders slumped in defeat. I was confused. I've been having a hard time lately, and I made a terrible mistake. That's not what you said, I interrupted. You said you'd been feeling this way for years. You said you thought I felt the same way. Harris turned to his wife, and I could see his heart breaking in real time. Is that true, Jess? Have you been in love with my brother our entire marriage? The silence stretched on forever. Finally, Jessie whispered, I don't know. Maybe. I'm so confused about everything. That's when Harris lost it. He started yelling, and Jessie started crying harder, and Amelia was trying to keep her voice down because of the kids. It was absolute chaos. After Harris kicked Jessie out of the garage conversation and she went upstairs to their bedroom, Amelia followed her. I stayed with Harris, who was pacing back and forth, running his hands through his hair. "I can't believe this," he kept saying. 7 years, Marcus. 7 fucking years of marriage, and she's been thinking about you. About an hour later, Amelie came back downstairs, her face pale. "Marcus, Harris, you need to see this." She had Jessica's laptop in her hands. I asked her to show me her messages with Marcus, to prove she never crossed any lines. But I found something else. Amelie opened the laptop and showed us a folder hidden in Jessica's photos. It was full of pictures of me. Not family photos, isolated shots of just me from various family gatherings over the years. Birthday parties, barbecues, Christmas mornings. In every single one, I was alone, like she'd cropped everyone else out. But the worst part was a subfolder labeled Beach Trip 2022. Last summer, both our families had gone to Elena's parents' lake house. There were dozens of photos of me swimming, playing with the kids in the water, even some of me asleep on the deck chair. I had no idea she was taking any of these pictures. Harris stared at the screen in horror. "She's been collecting photos of you?" "This goes back 3 years, Amelie said quietly. "Look at the dates." We scrolled through the folder, and it was like watching Jessica's obsession develop in real time. The photos got more frequent, more focused, more intimate isn't the right word, but they felt invasive in a way that made my skin crawl. When we confronted Jessie about the photos, she completely broke down. She was sobbing so hard she could barely speak, admitting that she'd been obsessed with me for years. "It started at Amelie and Marcus's wedding," she confessed through her tears. "I was Harris's girlfriend then, but watching Marcus at the altar, seeing how happy he was, how handsome he looked in his tux, I felt something I'd never felt before." Amelie looked like she was going to be sick. This meant Jessie had been harboring these feelings since before she even married Harris. "I tried to push the feelings down," Jessie continued. "I married Harris because I loved him, I really did. But Marcus was always there, always kind to me, always making me laugh. Every family gathering was torture because I wanted something I couldn't have." Harris was just staring at her, his face a mixture of rage and heartbreak. "So our entire marriage has been a lie?" "No," Jessie protested. "I love you, Harris. I love our children. But I also love Marcus." "You don't love me," I said firmly. "You're obsessed with me. There's a difference." She looked at me with desperate eyes. "Marcus, please. You have to understand. The way you are with everyone, how caring you are, how successful and smart. I couldn't help falling for you. I'm married to your best friend," I said. "I have children with her. Even if I felt the same way, which I absolutely don't, I would never destroy our families like this." That seemed to break her even more, because she started wailing about how she knew it was hopeless but couldn't help herself. Word of what happened spread through our extended family quickly. Amelie called her parents, Harris called our parents, and soon everyone knew about Jessica's confession and the photos. The reactions were mixed. Some family members thought Harris should try to work things out with Jessie for the sake of their kids. Others were disgusted by her behavior and thought she'd crossed an unforgivable line. Our parents were devastated. Mom called me crying, saying she felt like she'd lost a daughter. Dad was furious with Jessie but also worried about Harris and the kids. Elena's parents banned Jessie from their house, which was hard because they considered her a daughter for over a decade. Elena's mom called Jessie crying, asking how she could betray her best friend like this. But the hardest part was watching Harris struggle with what to do. He loved Jessica, or at least the person he thought she was. They had 3 young children together. But how do you stay married to someone who's been in love with your brother for years? After finding the photos, Harris decided to dig deeper. He went through Jessica's phone, her social media accounts, everything. What he found made the situation even worse. Jessie had been secretly screenshotting my social media posts for years. She had hundreds of photos of me and Amelie together that she'd saved from Facebook and Instagram. She'd even saved photos that Amelie had posted of just me. But the most disturbing discovery was a journal she kept on her phone. She'd been documenting her feelings about me for over 2 years, writing detailed entries about family gatherings, analyzing every conversation we'd had, imagining scenarios where we ended up together. One entry from last Christmas read, "Marcus hugged me goodbye tonight and held on just a little longer than usual. I think he's starting to realize what's between us." Amila was busy with the baby and didn't notice, but I felt electricity when he touched me. Maybe this year will be the year he admits his feelings. Reading that entry made me feel physically ill. There was no longer than usual hug. It was a normal family goodbye hug, the same one I'd given her hundreds of times before. But in her mind, she'd twisted it into something romantic. Another entry for my birthday last year. Watched Marcus blow out his candles tonight and imagined what it would be like to wake up next to him on his birthday. Made his favorite cake and he said it was perfect. Harris barely even noticed the effort I put in, but Marcus complimented me 3 times. He sees me in a way Harris doesn't. There were dozens of entries like this, each one showing how Jesse had been living in a complete fantasy world where every normal interaction between us was loaded with romantic meaning. The hardest part of this whole situation has been protecting the children. Jessica's kids, Ryan, Emma, and baby Noah, had no idea why Mommy and Daddy were fighting so much suddenly. Harris tried to shield them from the worst of it, but kids are perceptive. Ryan, being the oldest at 6, started asking questions about why Mommy was crying all the time and why they weren't seeing Uncle Marcus and Aunt Amelia anymore. Jessica, in her emotional state, made the mistake of trying to explain things to Ryan in a way that was completely inappropriate. She told him that Mommy made a mistake about Uncle Marcus, and that's why Daddy was upset. When Harris found out about this conversation, he was furious. The idea that she was involving their 6-year-old in this mess was the final straw for him. "You don't talk to our children about this," he told her. "This is between adults. They don't need to know that their mother is in love with their uncle." Jessie broke down again, realizing that she'd crossed yet another line. Throughout all of this, I've been dealing with my own emotional turmoil. I keep replaying every interaction I've had with Jessie over the years, wondering if I somehow encouraged her feelings without realizing it. Amelia has been incredibly supportive, never once blaming me for Jessica's obsession. But I still feel guilty. Maybe I was too friendly with Jessica. Maybe I should have noticed the signs earlier. I've been going to therapy to work through these feelings. My therapist has helped me understand that Jessica's obsession was her responsibility, not mine. She chose to nurture these feelings instead of addressing them appropriately. She chose to cross boundaries that should never have been crossed. But it's still hard not to feel partially responsible for the destruction of my brother's marriage and the impact on their children. The hardest part for Amelia has been losing her best friend. She and Jessie had been close since college, sharing everything, supporting each other through pregnancies, celebrating each other's successes. "I feel like I never really knew her," Amelia told me one night. "How could she pretend to be my friend while being in love with my husband? Every girl's night, every time she helped me pick out lingerie for you, every time she listened to me talk about our sex life, she was thinking about you the whole time." Amelia also found out that Jessie had been asking inappropriate questions about our marriage for years. Things like whether I was happy, if we were having any problems, if I ever seemed attracted to other women. At the time, Amelia thought Jessie was just being a concerned friend, but now she realizes Jessie was fishing for information, hoping to find cracks in our marriage that she could exploit. After finding the journal entries and photos, Harris filed for divorce. He consulted with a lawyer and was told that Jessica's behavior, while deeply inappropriate, wasn't necessarily grounds for her to lose custody of the children completely. However, the lawyer suggested that Harris could probably get primary custody given Jessica's unstable mental state and obsessive behavior. The fact that she'd been documenting her feelings about her brother-in-law for years and taking secret photos could be seen as concerning behavior by a family court judge. Jessie begged Harris to reconsider, promising to get therapy and work on her issues. But Harris was done. "I can't trust you anymore, Jess. Every time you look at Marcus, every time we're at family gatherings, every time you hug him or laugh at his jokes, I'll be wondering if you're thinking about being with him instead of me. I can't live like that." The divorce proceedings have been ugly. Jessica's lawyer has tried to paint her behavior as a mental health crisis rather than infidelity, arguing that she never physically cheated on Harris. But Harris's lawyer has countered that emotional infidelity and obsessive behavior are just as damaging to a marriage. The custody battle has been the most heartbreaking part of this entire situation. Ryan, Emma, and Noah are innocent victims in all of this, and watching them struggle with their parents' separation has been devastating. Harris is seeking primary custody, allowing Jessie supervised visitation until she completes extensive therapy. Jessie is fighting for joint custody, claiming that her feelings for me don't impact her ability to be a good mother. The family court judge ordered both parents to undergo psychological evaluations. Jessica's evaluation revealed signs of obsessive-compulsive tendencies and possible personality disorder traits. The psychologist recommended individual therapy before any custody arrangement could be finalized. Harris's evaluation showed signs of depression and anxiety related to the betrayal, but overall mental stability and a strong commitment to his children's well-being. Since Harris filed for divorce, Jessie has made several desperate attempts to contact me despite Harris's explicit instructions to stay away from me and Elena. She's created fake social media accounts to message me, asking me to help her save her marriage by talking to Harris. She sent emails to my work address, begging me to meet with her so she can explain everything properly. Most disturbingly, she showed up at my office 3 weeks ago, waiting in the parking lot for me to leave work. When I saw her there, I immediately called Harris and Elena, then went back inside and asked building security to escort her off the property. "Marcus, please," she called out as security walked her to her car. 5 minutes. That's all I need. I can make you understand. I got a restraining order the next day. Our extended family has been torn apart by this situation. Some relatives blame Jessie entirely, saying she destroyed 2 marriages with her selfish behavior. Others think Harris is being too harsh, arguing that Jessie never actually cheated physically and that people can't help who they fall in love with. Our grandmother, who's always been the family peacemaker, has been devastated by the whole situation. She's 89 years old and keeps saying this might be the last Christmas she spends with the family, and now it's ruined because we can't all be in the same room together. Some of Elena's family members have suggested that maybe we should have just kept Jessica's confession a secret to preserve family harmony. But both Amelia and I knew that would have been impossible. The secret would have eaten away at all of us, and Jessica's feelings wouldn't have just disappeared. My cousin Zara, who's always been close to Jessica, tried to mediate by suggesting that Jessica's behavior was a result of postpartum depression from having baby Noah. But the timeline doesn't work out. Jessica's obsession with me started long before Noah was born. Despite Elena's support and trust, this situation has put strain on our marriage too. We've had to have difficult conversations about boundaries, trust, and what this means for our future family relationships. Amelia has struggled with feeling like she's been living a lie, not knowing that her best friend was in love with her husband. She's questioned every memory, wondering if Jessie was being genuine in their friendship or if she was always thinking about me. We've started couples therapy to work through these issues together. Our therapist has helped us understand that this situation, while devastating, has actually strengthened our marriage in some ways. We've learned to communicate more openly about uncomfortable topics and to trust each other completely even in difficult circumstances. But there are still hard moments. Amelia sometimes gets insecure about other women in our lives now, wondering if she missed signs with Jessie that she might miss with someone else. I have to constantly reassure her that what happened with Jessie was not normal and that most people don't harbor secret obsessions with their in-laws. It's been 3 months since Jessica's initial confession, and our family is still picking up the pieces. Harris and Jessica's divorce is proceeding, with Harris likely to get primary custody of the children. Jessie has started therapy but continues to maintain that her feelings for me were real love rather than obsession. Jessie has moved in with her sister temporarily and has supervised visitation with her children every other weekend. The kids are struggling with the separation, especially Ryan, who keeps asking when mommy and daddy are going to stop being mad at each other. Harris is doing better day by day but is still dealing with the emotional aftermath of his marriage ending. He's started dating again, which has been strange for all of us to adjust to. Amelia and I are in a good place, but we know it will take time to fully heal from this experience. We've had to explain to our children why they don't see their cousins as much anymore, which has been heartbreaking. This experience has taught me several painful lessons about family, trust, and boundaries. 1. Just because someone is family doesn't mean you really know them. Jessie hid her true feelings for years while acting like a loving sister-in-law and best friend. 2. Obsession and love are not the same thing. Jessica's feelings for me were unhealthy and one-sided, based on fantasy rather than reality. 3. Secrets like this always come out eventually. If we had tried to hide Jessica's confession, it would have destroyed our family in different but equally devastating ways. 4. The innocent people, the children, always suffer the most in situations like this. 5. Professional help is essential when dealing with mental health issues like obsession and boundary violations. I don't know if our family will ever fully recover from this. Harris may never be able to be in the same room as Jessie again, which means family gatherings will forever be complicated. The children will grow up knowing that their parents' marriage ended because their mother was in love with their uncle. Jessie is still in therapy, but from what Harris tells me, she continues to believe that her feelings for me were justified and that I must have felt something too, even though I've made it clear repeatedly that I never did and never will. I worry about what will happen when the kids get older and start asking more detailed questions about why their parents got divorced. How do you explain to a child that their mother was obsessed with their uncle? How do you protect them from the ugly truth while still being honest? The restraining order against Jessie expires next month, and I'm debating whether to renew it. Part of me hopes she's gotten the help she needs and can move on with her life. But part of me is still afraid that her obsession hasn't truly ended and that she might try to contact me again. I'm sharing this story because I need to process what happened and because I hope it might help someone else who finds themselves in a similar situation. Family betrayals like this are incredibly rare, but when they happen, they're devastating. If you're reading this and you recognize similar warning signs in someone in your life, inappropriate questions about your marriage, secret photo taking, boundary-crossing behavior, please address it immediately before it escalates. And if you're someone who's developed inappropriate feelings for a family member or friend spouse, please get professional help immediately. Don't let your feelings fester and grow into an obsession that destroys multiple families. The most important thing I've learned is that we survive this as a family unit. Elena, our children, and I. Harris will rebuild his life and find happiness again. The kids will adjust to their new normal with help and support. But Jessica's actions have consequences that will ripple through our family for generations. That's the real tragedy of this situation. Not just the immediate pain and betrayal, but the long-term damage to relationships that can never be fully repaired. Thanks for staying this far, Reddit. I'm still processing everything that happened, and writing it all out has been therapeutic. Any advice on how to continue moving forward would be appreciated.